The Perils of Entitlement, a Lesson in Respect at Windsor Castle. The viral incident at Windsor Castle, where an entitled tourist was swiftly subdued after shoving a royal guard, serves as a powerful allegory for our social media age. Rebecca Chen, a 20-something influencer obsessed with curating the perfect travel aesthetic, deliberately crossed multiple boundaries, both physical and social, in her quest for viral fame. Her actions reveal a disturbing modern mentality where personal gratification trumps collective respect, where the pursuit of content justifies trespassing against tradition. What makes this confrontation particularly striking is how it dismantles the common misconception that ceremonial guards are merely decorative props. The scarlet uniformed soldier who neutralized Rebecca with military precision wasn't playing a role. He was executing years of combat training. His instantaneous transition from stoic sentinel to active defender demonstrated that these iconic figures are first and foremost elite soldiers, their ceremonial duties underpinned by real-world readiness. This clash between instant gratification and institutional respect unfolds with almost Shakespearean irony. Rebecca, who moments earlier had dismissed the guard as a mannequin with a paycheck, found herself literally brought down to earth, her designer-clad body splayed across centuries-old cobblestones. The accidental selfie her phone captured, mouth agape in shock, perfectly manicured hands flailing, became the ultimate symbol of comeuppance in the digital age. Here was someone who had flown 6,000 miles to control her image, only to have her most unguarded, undignified moment preserved and shared by the very crowd she'd shoved past moments earlier. The guard's dry delivery of her phone, with the quip, "I believe you wanted a photograph," transformed from routine security procedure into a devastating mic drop moment. Beyond the schadenfreude, the incident raises urgent questions about how we value tradition in an era of performative tourism. The barriers Rebecca ignored weren't arbitrary. They represented centuries of protocol designed to protect both visitors and the dignity of institutions. Her belief that rules were negotiable for social media clout reflects a broader cultural sickness, one where experience is valued only as content and respect is discarded when inconvenient. The crowd's reaction, initial gasps turning to applause, suggests society still instinctively recognizes and rewards the defense of these boundaries. For older generations watching, there's particular satisfaction in seeing someone learn the lesson that respect cannot be bought with followers nor bypassed with arrogance. In a world increasingly hostile to tradition, this 20-second confrontation became an unexpected defense of the values that sustain civil society, proving that sometimes the quickest way to bring someone down to earth is literally to put them on the ground. The Queen's Guard, ceremonial splendor meets elite military precisio. The iconic image of the Queen's Guard, immaculate in scarlet tunics and towering bearskin hats, has long been misunderstood as mere pageantry, a living tourist attraction rather than a serious military presence. The shocking incident at Windsor Castle, where a guard swiftly subdued an aggressive tourist, ripped away this misconception to reveal the formidable warriors beneath the ceremonial trappings. These are not actors playing soldier, but combat-hardened professionals whose daily discipline would put most social media influencers to shame. Private Patrick Lawrence, the guard at the center of the confrontation, embodies this duality perfectly. His morning routine begins at 4:30 a.m. with the meticulous preparation of a uniform that must meet impossible standards. Boots polished to mirror-like perfection, brass buttons gleaming with military precision, every stitch aligned to honor centuries of tradition. To casual observers, this might seem like vanity, but it's actually the physical manifestation of a deeper ethos, the relentless discipline that transforms ordinary soldiers into elite guardians of tradition. What tourists interpret as frozen stillness is actually hyper-awareness, Lawrence's peripheral vision constantly scanning for threats while maintaining the illusion of statue-like immobility. This paradox, absolute external calm masking intense internal readiness, explains how he could transition instantly from ceremonial figure to combat responder when provoked. The confrontation itself was a masterclass in controlled response. When Rebecca Chen crossed the barrier and laid hands on Lawrence, she wasn't just breaking a tourist rule. She was assaulting an active military officer on duty. His takedown maneuver, a seamless blend of arm deflection, leg sweep, and controlled descent, wasn't learned for palace duty, but perfected in conflict zones. The precision with which he neutralized the threat without causing unnecessary injury spoke volumes about his training. Notably, he used just enough force to stop the aggression while avoiding escalation, a restraint that's increasingly rare in our confrontational age. This measured response highlights a critical truth. The Queen's Guards represent the ideal balance between authority and responsibility, their ceremonial roles never overshadowing their fundamental duty to protect. What makes this institution remarkable is how it synthesizes opposites. The bearskin hats that seem so anachronistic actually serve a practical purpose. Their 18-inch height makes guards more visible in crowds. The scarlet tunics, while strikingly photogenic, originated as practical military wear. The color helped conceal bloodstains during Napoleonic Wars. Even the famous stoic demeanor has tactical value. By never reacting to provocation, guards deny aggressors the satisfaction of disruption. This blending of form and function reaches its peak in their selection process. Only soldiers with combat experience and exemplary records qualify for ceremonial duty. That TikTok influencer who mocks their rigidity would likely crumble under one day of their regimen. Standing motionless for hours in all weather, ignoring constant provocations, maintaining razor-sharp awareness despite monotony, the aftermath revealed equally profound lessons. Lawrence's immediate concern for the traumatized children, kneeling to speak gently about his uniform buttons, showed humanity breaking through protocol when it mattered most. His seamless return to duty afterward demonstrated that true professionalism isn't performative but ingrained. Most tellingly, when his commanding officer subtly nodded approval, it confirmed that the military values judgment as much as obedience, recognizing there are moments when breaking protocol is the highest form of honoring duty. For older Americans raised to respect service, this incident resonates deeply. In an era where institutions are constantly questioned, the Queen's Guard stands as a rare example of tradition evolving without eroding its core values. Their ability to balance splendor with substance, ceremony with readiness, offers a model for preserving respect in modern society. As the video narrator observed, this was a powerful reminder that behind every uniform stands a real person, one who chooses daily to uphold something greater than themselves. That Private Lawrence could transition from comforting a child to neutralizing a threat to resuming his post, all without seeking recognition, epitomizes the quiet excellence we instinctively admire but rarely pause to understand. Ultimately, the Windsor Castle confrontation wasn't just about a rude tourist meeting consequences. It was a vivid demonstration that some institutions endure because they represent timeless virtues, discipline over impulse, service over self, and the understanding that true respect can't be demanded. It must be earned through consistent action. The next time we see those scarlet uniforms, we do well to remember they're not just guarding palaces, but preserving principles our world desperately needs to rediscover. The psychology of a public breakdown, lessons from the Windsor Castle incident. The viral confrontation at Windsor Castle between an entitled tourist and a royal guard reveals far more than a simple breach of etiquette. It exposes deep societal fractures in how we interact with authority, tradition, and public spaces in the digital age. Rebecca Chen's spectacular public humiliation represents a case study in modern narcissism colliding with institutional discipline, offering disturbing insights about the psychology of entitlement and its consequences. Rebecca's behavior followed a textbook pattern of destructive tourism psychology. Her initial dismissive comments about the guards being mannequins with paychecks revealed a fundamental failure to understand ceremonial duty as anything beyond performance. This objectification of tradition, the belief that historical institutions exist primarily as backdrops for social media content, reflects a broader cultural sickness. Her subsequent actions demonstrated classic cognitive dissonance. Despite multiple warnings from staff, friends, and even fellow tourists, she constructed a self-justifying narrative where rules applied to others but not to her special circumstance as an influencer. The disturbing ease with which she physically assaulted a uniformed soldier speaks to how social media validation can warp risk assessment. In her mind, the potential for viral fame outweighed any real-world consequences. The guard's response provided an equally fascinating psychological study. His instantaneous transition from ceremonial stillness to defensive action demonstrated what neurologists call automaticity, the point where training becomes instinct. Years of repetition had wired his nervous system to respond with precise, measured force before conscious thought could interfere. What appeared to bystanders as a sudden explosion of movement was actually the culmination of countless hours of drills, his body reacting while his mind remained calmly assessing the threat level. This explains why he could simultaneously neutralize Rebecca and ensure her safe landing, all while maintaining the emotional detachment to later comfort frightened children. His ability to compartmentalize, shifting between combat mode, paternal reassurance, and ceremonial duty, reveals the extraordinary psychological flexibility required of these soldiers. The crowd's reaction offers perhaps the most complex psychological dimension. Their initial passive recording of Rebecca's transgression reflects the modern bystander effect 2.0, where documenting an event replaces intervention. But their subsequent cheers for the guard's takedown suggest a collective catharsis, as if society itself was releasing pent-up frustration at entitled behavior that normally goes unchecked. The speed with which Rebecca's humiliation went viral, her shocked face memified before she even stood up, reveals our culture's appetite for schadenfreude, particularly when targeting those perceived as arrogant. Psychologists might interpret this as digital age vigilante justice, where social media becomes the tool for enforcing norms that physical society struggles to maintain. Most poignant were the children's reactions, both the traumatized siblings caught in Rebecca's wake and the young witnesses absorbing implicit lessons about consequences. Their wide-eyed confusion at an adult's public meltdown underscores how such incidents shape developing minds' understanding of authority and accountability. The guard's deliberate choice to kneel and explain his uniform's buttons to them, a subtle but masterful trauma response technique, showed acute psychological intelligence. By refocusing their attention on something concrete and positive, he helped mitigate what could have become a core negative memory about power and conflict. For older generations observing this incident, there's profound unease in recognizing how drastically public behavior norms have shifted. Where once the mere presence of authority figures commanded automatic deference, today's culture breeds Rebecca Chens by the thousands. Individuals who view the world as a stage for their personal narrative, tradition as content to be consumed, and rules as obstacles to be streamed around. The guard's heart, restrained violence, so measured yet so decisive, becomes a symbolic corrective to this cultural drift. His actions whisper an uncomfortable truth our era needs to hear, that respect cannot be hashtagged into existence, that true freedom requires boundaries, and that sometimes dignity must be physically defended against its would-be disruptors. The Windsor Castle incident ultimately serves as a Rorschach test for our times. Some see a cautionary tale about unchecked entitlement, others a vindication of traditional authority. But its deepest lesson may be about the psychology of respect itself, how easily it's eroded in the attention economy, and how desperately we still crave institutions that demand it. As Rebecca learned the hard way, no amount of followers can shield you from gravity, from consequences, or from the uncomfortable reality that some lines, when crossed, will always trigger an immutable response, whether from a guardsman's training or society's collective conscience. The ripple effects of a moment's outrage, societal lessons from Windsor Castle. The viral Windsor Castle confrontation between an entitled tourist and a royal guard represents far more than a fleeting social media spectacle. It serves as a microcosm of contemporary cultural tensions surrounding authority, public decorum, and collective responsibility in the digital age. This single moment of conflict unleashed waves of consequences that reveal uncomfortable truths about modern society's relationship with tradition and discipline. The incident's immediate aftermath showcased institutional responses operating at peak efficiency, a well-rehearsed ballet of security protocols and social accountability. Palace security personnel moved with practiced precision to contain the situation. Local police documented the assault with professional detachment, and child welfare specialists materialized almost instantly to attend to the distressed children. This seamless coordination between ceremonial, law enforcement, and social services demonstrates how British institutions maintain what sociologists call social scaffolding, invisible structures that uphold civil order. The presence of child protective services within minutes, even for foreign nationals, underscores how seriously modern societies treat the collateral damage of public disturbances, particularly when minors are involved. Digital anthropologists would find the online aftermath particularly fascinating. Unlike most viral videos that fracture audiences along ideological lines, this incident generated rare consensus across demographics. Military families praised the guards' restraint, parenting bloggers analyzed the children's trauma responses, and etiquette experts lamented declining public decorum, all finding common ground in condemning Rebecca's actions while acknowledging her human frailty. This unusual harmony suggests certain values: protecting children, respecting authority figures performing duties, and maintaining public sobriety still transcend cultural divides in an otherwise polarized world. The incident became what media theorists call a common knowledge event, a shared reference point that temporarily unites disparate groups through collective judgment. For older observers, especially American veterans and traditionalists, the confrontation evoked nostalgia for a time when uniforms commanded automatic respect. The elderly veteran who saluted the guard afterward wasn't just honoring an individual, he was paying tribute to a vanishing social contract where certain roles, soldiers, teachers, clergy, came with inherent authority. Yet the incident also offered a hopeful model for 21st century conflict resolution. The guard's ability to de-escalate through measured force, neutralizing the threat while minimizing harm, contrasts sharply with either permissive indifference or excessive brutality that often characterizes modern institutional responses to rule breakers. The economic dimensions warrant equal consideration. Rebecca's belief that her travel expenses purchase special privileges reflects the consumerist mentality infecting modern tourism. The idea that historic sites are theme parks where money guarantees access. Her shocked reaction to consequences reveals how thoroughly commercialized experiences have eroded understanding of non-negotiable social boundaries. Meanwhile, the guards' unpaid overtime, those pre-dawn hours spent polishing boots and pressing uniforms, represents the antithesis of this transactional thinking, embodying what economist Karl Polanyi called the embeddedness of non-market values in traditional institutions. Perhaps most significantly, the incident illuminated the changing nature of public shaming. Where once disgrace was locally contained, digital dissemination transformed Rebecca's momentary lapse into eternal infamy, her shocked face immortalized in memes before she even stood up. This represents what scholars call reputation permanence in the internet age, where poor decisions achieve immortality through social media. Yet the crowd's live recordings also served an ancient social function, what anthropologists term norm broadcasting, using public consequences to reinforce community standards. Ultimately, the Windsor Castle confrontation endures as more than entertainment because it satisfies deep human cravings for moral clarity in confusing times, for justice in an unfair world, and for reassurance that some institutions still hold the line against chaos. As the guard resumed his post, unyielding as the castle walls behind him, he became a living metaphor for traditions that bend but don't break under modern pressures. In our fractured world, such moments of unambiguous right and wrong become cultural touchstones, however brief, reminding us that civilization's thin veneer relies on countless such guardians, both literal and figurative, standing firm against the tides of entitlement. Timeless lessons from Windsor Castle. This incident teaches us that respect for tradition and authority is not outdated. It's the foundation of a functioning society. The Royal Guard's disciplined response reminds us that true strength lies in restraint, not aggression. For older generations who value decorum, this moment reinforces that rules exist for good reason, whether at historic sites or in everyday life. The tourist's humiliation illustrates a hard truth. Entitlement and disregard for boundaries often lead to public downfall, especially in an era where mistakes live forever online. Beyond the spectacle, there's a deeper lesson about dignity. The guard's ability to remain composed, protecting others while minimizing harm, shows that civility and strength can coexist. For seniors who've witnessed societal decay, this is a reassuring example of institutions upholding standards. It also warns younger generations. No amount of social media fame outweighs self-respect. True character is revealed not in curated posts, but in how we treat others, especially those sworn to serve. Ultimately, this story celebrates quiet virtues, duty, humility, and respect that built the world older generations cherish. It's a call to uphold these values online and off before they become relics of the past.